If you're trying to choose between XEQT and VEQT, it's not obvious what actually matters. The fact sheets are full of numbers, prices, fees, performance, and it's really easy to focus on the wrong thing right out of the gate. So in this video, I'm not going to try to pick a winner. I just want to show you how I compare these ETFs so that you can decide which one actually makes sense for you. My name is Darren. I'm just a regular Canadian who used to think that it was too late to start investing, but I started anyway, and I'm proving that it's never too late to build wealth. Now, I'm not trying to outsmart the market today. Today, we want to look at these ETFs and be able to pick one that works for you, especially when you're starting to invest later in life. That's why I like all-in-one ETFs, and that's why how you compare them really matters. Before we compare anything, we need to understand what these ETFs are actually built for and who they come from. XEQT is BlackRock's all-in-one equity ETF, while VEQT is Vanguard's all-in-one equity ETF. They're both designed to do the exact same job. They both trade in Canadian dollars, and they both are listed on the Toronto Stock Exchange. And that's important for Canadian investors because it means that you can invest in them using Canadian dollars without having to convert your money just to get some global exposure. Inside of the fund, you still get exposure to the US, international markets, but you don't have to manage currency conversions or foreign exchanges yourself. That's part of what makes these ETFs so simple. Now, in terms of how they're built, both XEQT and VEQT are 100% equity, globally diversified, and automatically rebalanced. Being 100% equity means they're built for long-term growth, not short-term stability. These are not ETFs designed to smooth out the ups and downs that we see in the markets year to year. They're designed to grow over long periods of time. Global diversification means you're not betting on one country or one economy to get it right. You're spreading your investment across thousands of companies around the world. And automatic rebalancing means you don't have to make decisions when markets move. Because most people make their worst decisions when markets are falling and fear is high, or markets have already gone up and confidence is high. Put together, these are ETFs designed to be held for years, not consistently adjusted, and that matters because once you understand what they're actually built to do, you stop worrying about short-term noise and start focusing on the things that really make a difference. One of the first differences that people notice is the share price. At the time that I'm recording this video, XEQT is trading around $41 while VEQT is trading around $55. And for a lot of people, that immediately raises the question, is VEQT more expensive? The answer is no, and this is important. That price difference doesn't tell you anything about value, risk, or expected return. It just tells you how the ETF is divided up. So then it's easy to think, okay, maybe share price doesn't matter, but what about size? For example, VEQT has about 10.25 billion invested in it, and XEQT has about 13.63 billion. And it's tempting to think, well, XEQT has more money in it, so that must make it the better or safer choice. But with large ETFs like these, more money going in mostly makes the fund bigger, not necessarily better. At this point, both of these ETFs are well established, they're easy to buy and sell, and they're not going anywhere. So just like share price, total net assets are something to understand, but they shouldn't be what convinces you to buy. The only practical difference share price can make is convenience. If you're investing a fixed dollar amount and buying whole shares, a lower price can leave less cash sitting on the sidelines. And this is where your broker actually starts to matter. For example, with Wealthsimple, you can buy fractional shares. That means every dollar that you invest gets put to work, regardless of the ETF's share price. But with a broker like Questrade, Canadian ETFs like XEQT and VEQT have to be bought in whole shares. So it's normal to end up with a bit of cash sitting on the sidelines when you can't buy a full share. Neither of those is wrong, but for beginners or people starting later, that simplicity can make a real difference. That's one of the reasons Wealthsimple has been one of my favorite platforms to use. No, this is not a sponsored video, and I genuinely love using Wealthsimple. It's beginner friendly, it removes friction, and it makes it easy to stay consistent. And if you're thinking about getting started with Wealthsimple, there is a link in the video description below. Beyond that, share price and fund size are just details, not decision factors. What really matters is choosing a setup that makes it easier for you to invest consistently. Next up, we have fees, and this is where the wording in the fact sheets can trip people up. Now, when you look at an ETF like XEQT or VEQT, you'll usually see two different fee numbers, the management fee and the management expense ratio, or MER. Now, they're related, but they're not exactly the same thing. Here's the simplest way to think about it. The management fee is what the fund company charges to run the ETF. That's their cut for managing the portfolio. The MER is the all-in cost you actually pay as an investor. It includes the management fee, operating costs, and for ETF like these, some embedded costs for the underlying ETFs that they hold. So the management fee is part of the MER, but the MER is always a bit higher because it includes everything. One other small but important thing to know, you never actually see the MER come out of your account. It's not a bill that you get. The MER is deducted from the fund's value behind the scenes before the returns are distributed to you. So when you look at the performance of the ETF, the fees have already been accounted for. Historically, VEQT's management fee was 0.22% and the MER was 0.24%. XEQT's management fee was 0.18, while their MER was 0.20. So on paper, XEQT looked slightly cheaper, but in late 2025, both providers lowered their management fees. BlackRock reduced XEQT's management fee from 0.18 to 0.17, and Vanguard reduced VEQT's management from 0.22 to 0.17%. Today, both of these ETFs have the same management fee. However, MERs are backward-looking. They're not calculated at the fund's fiscal year end. So VEQT's MER hasn't fully updated yet to reflect that cut, even though the change is real. Nothing's wrong here, nothing's hidden. It just takes some time for it to show up. So what does this mean in real dollars using today's posted MERs? As of today, VEQT's posted MER is 0.24%, XEQT's posted MER is 0.20%. Those are the numbers that you'll see on their websites. Using those MERs on $10,000, VEQT costs about $24 per year and XEQT costs about $20 per year. On $100,000, VEQT would cost $240 and XEQT would cost about $200 a year. If you held these for 30, however, MERs are backward-looking. They're not calculated at the fund's fiscal year end. So VEQT's MER hasn't fully updated yet to reflect that cut, even though the change is real. Nothing's wrong here, nothing's hidden. It just takes some time for it to show up. And that works out to $7,200 over 30 years. So we're talking about a difference of roughly $1,200 over 3 decades on a $100,000 investment. That's the real world difference as things stand today. Now, over time, those MERs are expected to come down slightly because both providers have already reduced their management fees and MERs update after the fund's fiscal year end. So what you're seeing today is a bit backward looking, but either way, we're already talking about very low costs. At this level, the difference between these ETFs isn't going to make or break your outcome. What matters far more is choosing a simple, diversified ETF and sticking with it. One last cost-related layer that's worth talking about here is currency, as I mentioned. Before, both XEQT and VEQT trade in Canadian dollars, and they're listed on the Toronto Stock Exchange. Now that's important for Canadian investors. It means that you don't have to convert your money to US dollars just to get that exposure to the US or these international companies. You invest in Canadian dollars on a Canadian exchange, and the ETF handles the global exposure inside of the fund. Now, that doesn't mean currency exposure disappears entirely. That still exists inside of the ETF based on where the companies are located. But the key benefit here is simplicity. You don't have to manage conversions or multiple currencies yourself. And that matters especially when you're starting out or starting later. And this is where currency conversion fees can quietly matter more than people expect. For example, with Wealthsimple, converting Canadian dollars to US dollars costs about 1.5%. So on $10,000 investment, that's roughly $150 gone immediately before you're even invested. Now, there's ways to reduce those costs, such as Norbert Gambit, and I already did a full video on that if you want to go a little bit deeper. The point here isn't that one approach is right or wrong, it's that CAD-listed ETFs let you get global exposure without having to think about currency conversions at all. One less step, one less place to make a mistake. This is where XEQT and VEQT start to feel a little bit different. Both are globally diversified, but they don't spread that exposure the same way, and they don't structure it in the same way either. As of the most recent data, VEQT holds about 13,628 stocks and XEQT holds about 8,431 stocks. Now, both numbers are massive. You're not lacking diversification with either one, but how you get that diversification is different. Country exposure with VEQT is about 45% in the US and just over 30% in Canada. With XEQT, the US is closer to 41% and Canada is around 26%. That difference doesn't sound huge, but it shifts where the rest of the portfolio goes. XEQT puts a bit more weight into Europe, Japan, and other international markets. This isn't about predicting which country will do best, it's about how diversified you want to be outside of Canada and the US. If your job, your home, and most of your future spending are already tied to Canada, having slightly less Canada inside of your ETF can improve diversification. If you're more comfortable with a stronger Canadian anchor, VEQT may feel better to hold, especially during rough markets. What's actually inside VEQT? Well, VEQT is built using Vanguard's ETFs, VUN for US, VCN for Canadian, VIU for international, and VEE for emerging markets. Those underlying ETFs are very broad, which is why VEQT ends up holding such a large number of individual companies. What's actually inside XEQT? Well, XEQT uses BlackRock's lineup, XIC for Canada, XEF for international and developed markets, ITOT and XTOT for US, and XEC for emerging markets. It's also an ETF of ETFs, just built a little bit differently. Now, neither structure is better or worse in a way that's going to make or break the outcome. It comes down to fit and comfort. The best portfolio isn't the one with perfect percentages or the most holdings. It's the one that you can stick with when markets get uncomfortable. People always want to know which one performs better, so let's look at performance. VEQT launched early in 2019, but the earliest comparable data that I could find for both of these ETFs starts on August the 14th of 2019, so that's the date we'll use to be fair. So if you invest $10,000 on that date and you reinvested all of the dividends, VEQT would be worth about $23,673, while XEQT would be worth $23,486. That's a difference of roughly $187 over 6 years. In other words, they're nearly identical. And when you look at the chart, the ride looks almost the same. The same drawdowns, the same recoveries, the same long-term trend. And you can see the difference that reinvesting those dividends actually makes. We got similar ETFs, same markets, just a different result based on what you did with that cash. And this is where it's worth thinking ahead to retirement. Today, reinvesting dividends helps your portfolio grow. Down the road, those same dividends could be part of the income that you use without necessarily having to sell shares. They're not magical, and the value still comes from the portfolio as a whole, but they do give you some flexibility. And when you're getting closer to retirement, flexibility matters. This is the part that a lot of people really care about, and that's those distributions. And I get it, because this is the part that feels like income. But with growth ETFs like these, the first thing to understand is the payouts move around. They're not fixed and they're not guaranteed, and they change year to year. So first, how often do they pay? Well, XEQT pays quarterly, while VEQT pays once a year. So XEQT feels smoother because you see the cash show up throughout the year, while VEQT feels a bit lumpier because it usually comes as one bigger annual payment. Now, let's talk about the history. Real numbers here. So for XEQT, when you add up the 4 quarterly payments each year, here's what that looks like. From 2020 to 2024, the annual total was roughly about 40 cents to 81 cents per share, with an average of about 61 cents a share. And within the year, most quarters are a bit smaller. But sometimes the December payout is slightly bigger because of the year-end adjustments. For VEQT, because it pays annually, you're going to see this all at once. So from 2020 to 2024, VEQT's annual distribution ranged from about 46 cents to 92 cents a share, and it averaged about 71 cents a share. So the important thing isn't the exact number in any one year. The important thing is both of these move around, sometimes a lot. Okay, but what does that look like on, say, $10,000 like our example before? So $10,000 again, just to get the sense of scale. If you bought around today's price, $10,000 of XEQT around $41, that's 240 shares. 10,000 of VEQT is around 55, so you get 180 shares. Now, using those average annual distributions, XEQT would have 240 shares at 61 cents for $145, or VEQT would be 180 shares at 71 cents for $130. And again, that's not a promise. It moves year to year, but it gives you a realistic idea of what distributions actually look like at the $10,000 level, and you can scale that up. So now, what does that mean in terms of percentages? Because a lot of people like to know that with the yield. Well, if we're using the average distributions, the current price of XEQT, it lands around 1.4 to 1.6, while VEQT sits at about 1.2 to 1.4. Now, of course, those are going to fluctuate and change over time as the distributions change, because, well, let's face it, these are growth ETFs. They're not income ETFs. So if you're looking for a stable 4 or 5% yield, these probably aren't the right tool. Now, there's also the human side to this. So XEQT and VEQT come from completely different providers. We got BlackRock and Vanguard. And they're slightly different structures and philosophies, but they're both rules-based and they do exactly what they say that they'll do. Some people, they really simply trust one over the other. That's not irrational, that's psychology. And investing is a long game with yourself, so you have to decide if that actually matters when it comes to picking one of these ETFs. So after all that, here's kind of how I would frame it. If you choose XEQT, you're choosing simplicity with a bit more Canadian exposure. And if you choose VEQT, you're choosing simplicity with a bit more US exposure. Now, neither choice is extreme, neither choice requires constant monitoring, and neither choice needs any tinkering at all. And that's the whole point of an all-in-one ETF. XEQT and VEQT are just 2 examples of all-in-one funds. There are plenty of other ones out there. They have different mixes and different structures. And the one that works best is the one that you'll actually stay invested in. Now, I didn't start out with an all-in-one. I found XEQT much later, and of course, I had things messed up right from the beginning. So when I found it, it helped me simplify things. And the biggest change wasn't performance, it was behavior. So fewer decisions, less second guessing, more consistency. Now, if this helped you think more clearly about how to compare ETFs, you should watch this video right here, because in it, I walk you through the biggest investing lessons that I learned in 2025 and why those lessons completely changed how I invest today.